Think about a baby playing peekaboo. When you cover your face, they look genuinely shocked, and when you reveal it, they laugh. To them, you aren't hiding. Your existence has literally blinked out of their reality, and then spontaneously returned. We often treat children as miniature adults, blank slates that simply need more facts downloaded into their heads to understand the world like we do. But early in the 20th century, a psychologist named Jean Piaget realized that approach was entirely backwards. He refused to treat children as deficient adults. Piaget discovered that child brains operate on a distinct system of logic. These internal rules process experience through a lens that is structurally different from an adult's. To figure out how a person reaches a point of rational thought, you have to map out the strange, highly structured stages of perception every human mind is forced to navigate first. We start mapping this journey at a simple table, using basic objects to diagnose exactly how an infant constructs their universe. Take a 10-month-old child like Simon. A researcher places a toy plane in front of him and then hides it underneath a white cloth. Simon watches the entire sequence happen. When prompted to find the toy, Simon makes a highly predictable error. He checks the spot where he last successfully found a toy, completely ignoring the cloth he just watched the plane disappear under. This diagram illustrates a failure in object permanence. A baby's brain cannot process that items exist outside their immediate vision. Grasping this requires maintaining a mental model of an object, holding on to the invisible plane while staring directly at a flat square of fabric. In this first phase, reality is entirely subjective. Objects do not have an independent life. They are summoned into existence strictly by the physical act of looking at them. Eventually, toddlers learn to track hidden objects, but their logic gets trapped in a new phase where raw visual input overrides everything else. In this liquid conservation test, two identical wide glasses hold the same amount of juice. Pouring one into a tall, narrow glass, a child assumes it holds more. Their brain locks on to the higher vertical liquid level, ignoring the loss in width. The same visual trap applies to counting. If you lay out 5 quarters packed tightly together and 5 spaced far apart, a child concludes the longer row has a higher total quantity. Distance overrides number. This even distorts their concept of fairness. Hand a child 1 graham cracker while keeping 2 for yourself, and they know they have been cheated. But simply snap their single cracker into 2 pieces, and they are instantly satisfied they now have an equal share. We see this visual dominance mapped out in this diagram of the 3-mountain task. A child sitting at position A looks at a landscape containing a goat and a tree. When asked what a person sitting at position B sees, the child lists the exact same arrangement they are looking at. They cannot mentally rotate the scene. In this developmental trap, what the eye see right now is the only truth. The child is entirely unable to separate their immediate physical perspective from an objective reality. As the brain matures, it begins to juggle multiple variables. An older child looking at the juice test can mentally balance the increased height against the narrower width, correctly concluding the volume remains equal. This brings us to the diagnostic tool for human cognition, purely hypothetical scenarios. Look at the 2 rules laid out here. If you hit a glass with a feather, the glass will break, and Don hit a glass with a feather. Ask a younger child what happens, and they will insist nothing happens. Their logic is tethered securely to the fact that feathers are soft and cannot shatter glass. An older child processes the same question and answers that the glass broke. They can suspend disbelief, accept a completely illogical premise, and deduce the correct outcome based strictly on the parameters of the thought experiment. This milestone represents the brain's final severing of logic from physical constraints. The mind has gained the ability to manipulate concepts entirely in the abstract. Growing up involves constant cognitive demolition. The mind dismantles and reassembles its logical frameworks into increasingly complex systems. We tend to view our adult capacity for reason as an innate set of traits we were born possessing, easily labeling it common sense. But reasoning is a built structure. It relies on the invisible triumphs of learning that objects persist in the dark, that volume survives its container, and that another person can look at the exact same landscape and see a different perspective. Every rational person walking down the street today is operating on a highly engineered reality. To get there, every single one of us had to successfully navigate and eventually outgrow these incredibly bizarre stages of human perception.